Hello, beautiful, amazing people. This is episode 36 of Stand Up. I am Pete Dominic. I want to thank you for listening to this show. I know there are lots of great podcasts out there, but this one is mine, and I'm working very hard on making it better each and every episode. Today's guest is one of my favorite political analysts in the game, Dr. Jason Johnson, and today's question is, what is the state of play in American politics? Welcome to the classroom of life. That is Stand Up with Pete Dominic, where every show I do my best to fight apathy and ignorance and learn together with you from expert guests and other smart, entertaining, thoughtful people about the issues and ideas that matter to you, to your family, to your community, your country, your planet, your own personal well-being, all while trying to figure out what the hell is going on in this roller coaster we call life. Want to start by thanking all of you fine, thoughtful, generous, amazing people who came to my show in Charleston, South Carolina. On Saturday night, we sold out the Wolf Street Playhouse, headlining the Charleston Comedy Festival, and I'm renewed and invigorated with my comedy. Lots of new material. Had a great time meeting some longtime listeners in Charleston. Great experience. Looking forward to getting out on the road and meeting more of you. Where should I go? Let me know. Jason Johnson is my guest. He and I met while I was appearing on CNN years ago with him, and I was immediately impressed with the boldness of his commentary. I loved his humor and his energy, the way he delivered it. I began having him on the radio show with me. He was getting a lot more play on TV as well. MSNBC finally signed him. Now he's one of the most respected political analysts in the game. He's also the political editor at theroot.com, which is an awesome website. He's a professor of politics and journalism at Morgan State University. He's very active and awesome on Twitter at Dr. Jason Johnson. We talked about a whole bunch of things, and he has a great suggestion for how Tom Steyer and or Michael Bloomberg should spend their billions of dollars to win over the votes of Floridians. You definitely want to hear that. And then after Jason Johnson, I will welcome my old man into the conversation. My parents are down here visiting, celebrating my daughter Ava's 15th birthday. 15, baby. Oh my God, you have a teenage daughter. That must be. Shut up with your assumptions and your predictions about teenage girls. Making a lot of generalizations about, they're adolescent girls and whatever comes with that. I don't know what happened with your daughter. I don't know what happened with you. She's good, man. She's doing great. Well-adjusted, self-aware, confident, getting great grades. Ava's awesome. She's always been awesome. She'll always be awesome. And now she's 15 years old. All right, let's get to my guest, the great Dr. Jason Johnson, right now on the Stand Up with Pete Dominic podcast. Don't forget to give me a rating. Write a rating wherever you get your podcast. Give us 5 stars. And, of course, support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Continues to grow. Keep it coming. Working really hard to make this podcast better each day. We got almost 300 people subscribing, and when we get to, if we can double that, I think we can go live. I think we can do every day. The sky's the limit, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Stand Up with Pete Dominic podcast. Here's Dr. Jason Johnson. I am really happy to be in conversation with you because I feel like I was inviting you on my radio show at kind of the beginning of your media career. I feel like I was one of the early shows who had you on, and now you've since blown up and you're on television and radio and podcasts all the time. And of course, you're a professor at a prestigious university. You're the politics editor at theroot.com. But I feel like I just want respect because I feel like I discovered your wisdom in terms of media as outside.
Dude, you're downplaying your own role here. Like even this is downplaying because so for all of you people out there listening, for you all to understand, back when I was just a regular poor grad student 15 minutes out of school and like trying to wear like redesigned clothes from Goodwill. Pete was already a big deal. Okay. Like I would be doing the triple screens with him and Will Kane. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to be like one of these guys. Obviously not Will at all under any circumstances. But you know, Pete's the prototype. So don't let him pretend that he just discovered me. He was also the kind of guy I admired. He had great facial hair. He was rocking the bald thing before I did, and he was already a media darling. So I am humbled that you have brought me from platform to platform and that you care to hear my mellifluous voice. I am humbled and flattered.
Well, I don't know what that M word even meant. Mellifluous? Is that what you said? So, I mean, now you... And
Melisandre. It's from Game of Thrones, yeah.
I'm sure. I didn't watch that. But now, you know, look at you. You're on fire, in my opinion, at The Root and at MSNBC. You're exclusive with MSNBC now?
Yeah. They made me an honest man.
And
so,
you are also
very humbled.
A pretty big deal on social media. And I'm now hosting a podcast from my garage. So, I mean, like, you know, our fortunes have overlapped and reversed, and I'm fine with that because I'll come back.
Microsoft started in a garage, man. Madam C.J. Walker started in a garage.
I'm inspired.
I am a big believer. In everything from garage businesses to garage bands to, I mean, isn't that how Heisenberg started crystal meth? Look, garages are underrated location. Why spend $50 a month for a WeWork space when you can just be in a garage?
Seriously.
That's my thought.
I mean, I'm all about work-life balance, you know, so
Exactly.
Working from home is cool. It's also, I found, extremely lonely, but we'll get back to my new lifestyle. And I'm excited to have you joining me today because there's so much that I want to talk with you about. So let's start with just obviously politics and the presidential campaign. It feels like that's where I mean, obviously you're commenting a lot about, you know, the Trump administration and impeachment and so on, but I'm curious as to how you have seen the presidential campaign unfold. And I'm not sure where exactly you want to start, but it seems to me that you were excited about the big field, the diverse field, and now we have winnowed it down to just white people, unless you want to throw in Andrew Yang, and it's gotten very divisive and contentious between Democrats themselves. So how have you seen this campaign, this presidential campaign, to get the Democratic nomination unfold? How do you? What's your narrative?
I'll tell you, Pete, from a macro perspective, and I say this with all humility, right? And I joke on Twitter, whatever else it is. Anybody who tells you that they know what's going to happen is a liar. Okay, don't trust. This is not predicting NFC AFC championship weekend, right? Nobody actually knows what's going to happen. And so I always try to approach my perspectives on the campaign from a humility standpoint that things can change. You know, what looks like it's going to be the case today might change in 2 or 3 weeks. That's just kind of the nature of what happens. So with that being said, I mean, yeah, Pete, if you go back to January of last year, at this time last year, Elizabeth Warren had just jumped into the race. I think Bernie and Harris had already announced, but Bernie was he was still only polling sort of second because even though Joe Biden hadn't announced, I think everybody assumed that he was. So, last year we saw a race where we all thought the top 4 were probably going to be Biden, Bernie, Harris, and maybe Warren. Here we are today. Harris is out of the race. Mayor Pete is in. And nobody could have expected that. Nobody could have anticipated that, a mayor from Whoville, as many people refer to him, would pop up on the scene in April and have this meteoric rise in fundraising, and a 37-year-old married gay dude from some nowhere town. So I say that because all that just happened in a year. So I think people always need to look at the 2020 campaign and stray away from like definitive hot takes of this is what's going to happen for this candidate or that, because we don't know. We have no idea how this field is going to play out. So that's the first thing. Second thing is right now, my guess, and again, this is just guessing, these things could change. Everybody wants to know, is Trump going to get reelected? Like if I tell you the single greatest thing that I'm asked when I go on the air, is somebody like runs into me in Safeway or whatever, like, is Trump going to get impeached? And do you think he's going to get reelected? So people always ask me, which is weird because I'm in line, I'm trying to buy inappropriate things, and they want to ask me questions and stuff. I'm like, hey, look, this is not for my rash. It's someone else. Anyway, the point is, folks will ask me, and I say this, a lot of Democrats and a lot of liberals are quietly saying to me they're worried that Trump is going to get reelected. They're terrified of him getting reelected. And just like you're not supposed to go to the grocery store when you're hungry, you can't vote scared. Like you just can't. You can't vote in terms of I'm afraid of the result. You got to play to win. You can't play to not lose. And the one thing I can say, at least in the first part, is like structurally, Trump is in the absolute worst position to get reelected of any president probably in our lifetime.
What do you mean structurally? In terms of
for example, So when you look at the stuff that usually means you get reelected, right? Like first and foremost, the guy lost the popular vote by 3 million. Like
he started
you started from the bottom and he's still not here, right? Like he hasn't. The second thing is the midterm elections were an absolute repudiation of him. An absolute repudiation. I mean, you lost 40 something seats. You lost 11 governorships. You've been losing every single special election. On top of that, his approval rating averages about 42%. He's never been higher than 45 at any point. And then lastly, and I think this is really key, the economy has not helped him. Usually you don't lose 40 seats in the House and 11 governorships when the economy is doing as well as it is. So it means that if Trump is taking these kinds of hits, if he's got this low level of approval rating, if he's got all these people who've turned against him when the economy is good, if it slows down just one bit, which every economist is saying is going to happen sometime this spring, we're finally going to start seeing the slowdowns of this recovery. He's in terrible shape.
And if it doesn't,
he's really, really bad shape.
Economists have been pretty wrong, I feel like, in the last year or so. So if it doesn't slow down.
If it doesn't slow down, he's still in bad shape. It doesn't mean that he doesn't get reelected. But one thing that you always got to remember about the economy, and I say this as somebody who just was a terrible economics student in college. God, I was terrible. But you got to study economics as a political scientist. One thing I always say about the economy, and people are like, oh, jobs are up or down, and it's affect. No. The economy affects elections by changing. It's not what's going on. It's what people anticipate is going to go on. And I always use this example, like people talk about gas prices. If gas prices are bad, it hurts the incumbent. That's bull.
That right?
No, like people. No. It's the thing about gas prices is I'm not pissed when gas is $4 a gallon and it's been that way for 3 months. What pisses me off is when I'm driving to the gas station on Sunday to fuel up for the week and I see them changing the sign from $3.36 a gallon to $4.20. It's the changing of gas prices that we get angry about. If things are stable, even if they're stable and bad, people will become used to it. And so if we start to get the sense that the economy is changing, look, the economy was still bad when Obama got reelected in 2012, but people thought it was getting better. And then that helped him because 2011 was terrible. Almost everybody I know, a large number of people I know were out of work at some point between 20.
People forget about that.
But it wasn't perfect in 2012. It just got better. And that's the thing about Trump.
So going back to voting scared, who are we afraid to support? We're afraid to support the more progressive candidate versus the more moderate, the Elizabeth Warren and the Bernie Sanders. We're afraid to support versus the Bidens and Buttigieg and Klobuchar at this point. Is that what you mean?
I think a lot of people were afraid to support Harris. We're afraid to support Castro. Because there's a belief, and I've said this, I've been saying for 2 years, Democrats are going to pick a white guy. They probably have to pick a white guy because you have too many Americans and too many Democratic Americans who are afraid of putting a black or brown person up against Trump. I think people were afraid of Harris. I think they were afraid of Castro because they thought that putting up someone of color against Trump would just play into his diabolical 3-dimensional chess plans. So you had to pick somebody. And I think second after that is when you start getting to Warren and Sanders. And here's the thing, and we can talk about this a lot. Warren and Sanders voters are not the same. They just aren't, even though people generically like to compare the two. But I think you have a lot of people who have shied away from Warren, and some people who will never even look at Bernie because they're terrified, again, of the idea that, well, if we dream too big, or if we're too enthusiastic, or we're too optimistic about radical change, I won't be able to convince my conservative brother-in-law in suburban Indianapolis.
But that strikes in the face of, I'm not a political scientist, but Barack Hussein Obama, and to be fair, I don't know, it depends on, I guess, your window and where it was. Some people say he wasn't, a leftist, staunch progressive, although his history certainly seemed that way. But he campaigned more moderately. Mm-hmm. But why don't we look at Barack Hussein Obama getting the nomination and then winning against a war hero, John McCain, and why is that not the model for beating this thug and cartoon villain that is Donald Trump? Why is it so hard for us to imagine someone who's seemingly less radical, Kamala Harris, Julian Castro, than Barack Hussein Obama, one letter off Osama? I keep saying all three because that's a crazy name, and he's black.
Because Barack Obama ain't running, he ain't walking through that door. Like Phil Jackson is like, hey, Jordan's not walking through that door. Barack Obama, it's not just because he won. I always point this out about candidates at the presidential level. Barack Obama was a unique talent. He was a really, really unique talent. It's LeBron, it's Jordan, it's Derek Jeter, it's Messi.
That's a great answer.
Don't have people.
He was able to overcome all of everything people thought about him on paper and the way that they demonized him, because you watch him for a couple minutes, you're like, this guy makes me feel good.
People were talking about him in 2004.
Right.
And not only that, but I also think you can't ever separate the campaign from context, right? He was running in 2008 after, disastrous wars by George Bush. The economy went to crap. John McCain, didn't seem to understand that the economy was going to crap. And then he had he picks a nutcase like Sarah Palin to be his VP. So Obama benefited from running against a guy who really was 8 years too late. John McCain's window of opportunity to get that ring would have been if he had beaten George Bush. But by the time he was running against Obama, it was a gold watch. It was a gold watch from the Republican Party. So a lot of those things had to come together. Trump is a completely different animal.
How so?
Well, first off, I think you have a lot of people. I can say this now. I was sitting in an off the record talk with some important GOP people in February, whatever it is, right around the beginning of the primaries in 2016. And these very important GOP people were like, they all but said, we really don't want Trump to win this nomination because we don't think he can win. This was Republicans. This was high-ranking people in the party. And they were saying, Donald Trump would have to get 65% of the white vote in order to win. And we don't think anybody can do that anymore. So we don't think he's a good candidate. They were very clear that they thought he was going to ruin them. Well, what happens? Donald Trump, he didn't get 65, but he got, low 60s of the white vote, and managed to squeak by in a couple of consistently blue states. And I think so many people were terrified by that somebody could run as this sort of blatant racist, incompetent, misogynist, accused of rape, accused of fraud. I think the idea that somebody like that could win was terrifying to a lot of Americans, because everybody, including Trump's campaign, everybody thought Hillary was going to win. Trump thought Hillary was going to win. So the shock that you can run, it's, I compare Trump's victory in 2016, the movie, the classic play, The Producers.
I'm not that familiar with it, but yeah.
So it's the basic story of the producers is, these guys, they're like, they want to get out of the business. They want to like collect insurance for like a fail play or whatever. So they're like, let's come up with the most offensive, ridiculous play possible so that we're guaranteed it'll fail. And then we can sort of get out of the business. Right. So they come up with this terrible play called Springtime for Hitler. And they're like, this has got to fail, right? No one could stomach this. And lo and behold, it becomes this big hit. And they're like, oh, crap, what do we do now? That was the Trump campaign. They were like, I mean, come on, we're not going to win this. We can't win it. Obama just left office. He's still got an approval rating of 54%. His wife's approval rating is in the 70s, right? There's no way we can win this way, but we'll make a lot of money. And then Trump will, start up his rival Fox network with old reruns of The Apprentice. And then he won.
I would have gotten residuals for that because I was on season 4. Damn.
Wow. I didn't know that, Pete. Now I got to go back and find season 4 on my DirecTV NBC broadcast.
So where are we now? Now let's take a look at where we're at now. That's a really interesting historical perspective and metaphor, obviously. But now, you have your pinned tweet is from May of 2017, an article from theroot.com of yours that says, yes, Trump voters will stick with him forever. I have steadfastly avoided most Trump voter treatises in the news. Because, I mean, basically you're saying what nobody else has been able to figure out still to this day. Stop asking them if they've changed their mind. You're saying this in May 2017. So, and that has proven, and I think, by the way, that's like you have a lot of credibility, I feel like, in the media. This is just my own personal opinion, because the predictions that you make, it's hard to make predictions in politics, but the predictions that you make are often right. And this is one of them. I mean, talk to me about how this hasn't changed.
So there's a couple things. And one, thank you for saying that. The Bernie bros are always after me saying, you were wrong about this week from, I'm like, whatever. It's a changing system. But there's certain undercurrents. Like predicting races is one thing, but undercurrents you can always sort of find.
Predicting racism? Would you say predicting racism?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Predicting racists. I do not see what you're talking about. But so, for example, about a week or so ago, I had CNN on, right? And so somebody was on, I think, some Mercanish's show, and it was one of their focus group people. It wasn't Frank Luntz, it was somebody else. So he was sitting there and he was like, oh, we did this focus group in Pennsylvania with these Obama to Trump voters, which everybody seems obsessed with. People who voted for Obama.
Well, it is interesting. They are interesting if they're real. I have a hard time with them.
Yeah, exactly. Put a pin in that if they're real. So he's asking these people and they're like, oh, yeah, they have these issues with different things Trump's have done, but some of them still like him. Some of them have issues. Some of them like impeachment, whatever. But he asked them a really critical question. He's like, okay, if Obama was running against Trump in 2020, who would you vote for? And all these Obama to Trump voters said they would vote Trump. And I'm like, if you're an Obama to Trump voter who would still vote for Trump over Barack Obama if he ran again, then yeah, you ain't moving. People who supported Trump are not changing their mind. There's not one person. This is an upcoming piece I've actually got for The Root next week. Trump isn't going to lose any support, but he for damn sure isn't gaining any. There's not one person.
I've always thought he hasn't won any, but no. My joke was not really a joke, but it's just kind of a humorous observation, I suppose. That man or woman out there is like, you know what? I didn't like Donald Trump and I didn't vote for him, but he has won me over. Like that person, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody somewhere and I'd love to talk to them. If you're listening, give me a call. But I, for the most part, there's no group. There's no momentum of that thought progression. I didn't like him at first. I didn't vote for him, but now I do, because what would be the issue? Why would you have changed your mind? I'm not sure who that person would be, what industry or what issue.
And they don't exist. It's an absolute fallacy. And I would go so far as to say that these, this is a general philosophy of mine that I've said from a political science standpoint and everything else like that. I don't believe in undecided voters, and I somewhat intellectually believe in swing voters, but I don't believe in undecideds. Undecideds are full of crap. Every time they do one of these panels with undecided voters, I know they're lying. All I have to do is listen to them for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
The vocabulary that you use, I can tell you're not an undecided.
I'd go even further. I generalize about the hat they're wearing, the clothes they're wearing. I'm like, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. It's like, come on, dude. Like, I know what you are. I know what you're. And in a similar way, it's like there are very few people. What is called an undecided or swing voter is usually just a person with like weak party identification. So they generally lean in one direction, but because they're not that connected to politics, they can be swept up in the moment. I'd be willing to bet you that if they have been voting long enough, that a lot of Obama to Trump voters were probably Bush to Obama voters. They just happen to, they don't really pay that much attention to politics, but if it seems like somebody's on their way to winning, or that seems to be the popular choice, they will go along with that movement. And the complete lack of sort of further analysis as to where these people come from, because in a similar way, I don't think there's a lot of people who voted for McCain in 2008 and then voted for Obama in 2012. Generally speaking, you lose support when you run for re-election. Because once you've been in office, you've had a chance to disappoint people. In the rare instance, George Bush did better, but that's because it was, post 9/11.
Right.
But for the most part, you don't always do better your second time around unless you just happen to be running against an absolute moron. And I would say that as a candidate, Mitt Romney was actually a better candidate than John McCain as far as who Obama had to face.
Right.
But yeah, so a lot of that stuff is garbage. Those people, but like you said, in a similar way, Pete, I don't think there's anybody out there that voted for Hillary Clinton that's like, you know what? Babies in cages, neo-Nazis, doing mass shootings, going to war over tweets. I think I want 4 more years of this. I don't think that person exists either.
So,
I don't think that person
Let me get a quick lightning round from you, a few words on a few different candidates, which is easy for you. Pete Buttigieg.
He's not qualified. I mean, he's a smart guy. And I preface this as we run through all of them, like all of them would be better presidents than Donald Trump. But literally, when you've been mayor of a town that is like the entire town could fit inside the Ohio State Buckeyes football stadium, like, no, I wouldn't want to put you in charge of the entire country. And his abject failure to manage important issues with the South Bend Police Department. I'm sorry. If you go from having 26 black police officers when you get elected to 4 by the time you leave office, and then you still have sort of rampant accusations and court cases and investigations about sort of racism and whatever else like that. Do I really want to put you in charge of the Naval Academy where you've had a series of sexual assaults? Do I want to put you in charge of the Department of Justice when you can't manage your freaking Mayberry cops? No, that's real issues.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders' policies are great. Bernie Sanders, the guy, is kind of a grumpy, cantankerous human being. He, of course, would make a better president than Donald Trump. I think a lot of his supporters are very Trumpian. They have become sort of cult-like, and he's going to have a real issue. He can't state this enough. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. As much as they want to talk about he's had consistent beliefs for 30 years, he has consistently been anti-Democratic Party. He's only in the Democratic Party because he knows it's the only way he can win. If he wins the nomination, he is going to have a hell of and hey, I say that now. It looked like I didn't think he was initially going to last this long. But if he somehow pulls off and wins the Democratic nomination, he is going to have a hell of a hard time rallying other people behind him because of the behavior of his supporters online, his supporters in public, and his surrogates. They have pissed people off because they treat him in a messianic way. And I'll say this very quickly. This is not an uncommon conversation to have with Bernie Sanders supporters. Just happened yesterday. I was on a radio show. They will say Bernie Sanders' plan is Medicare for all. It's the best plan. It covers everybody. So if you don't support Bernie Sanders, then you want poor people to die. That's what they say. And that kind of moral absolutism is not going to serve you well when you have to bring an entire coalition together. And I will also say this, his sort of flat earth, everything is the economy, and I don't believe in intersectionality, and I kind of downplay race, ain't a real selling point for me. But he'd be better than
Joe
Trump.
Biden. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe, good gracious.
Joe Biden.
He's like, there's a superhero from like Timely Comics and DC Comics in the 60s and 70s called Our Man. And he had this special formula that gave him like superpowers, but only for an hour at a time. Joe Biden is like the 5-minute man. Like you catch him for a 5-minute segment in a debate or a 5-minute segment when he's visiting and talking to constituents, and he's witty and he's engaging and he's funny and he's on point. But boy, oh boy, for the other 55 minutes, half the damn time he looks like he's asleep.
Sleepy Joe.
And I don't think he has come up with a compelling message for getting elected president other than, let me bring things back to normal. But I think his perception of normal is sometime in the early 90s, because for him to think that I can get elected and Mitch McConnell is going to work with me because I used to play squash with these guys is crazy.
Amy Klobuchar.
She's got no chance. Nobody, look,
at the nomination.
I literally was just working on no chance at the nomination. She shouldn't be elected president. She's a watered down version of the worst elements of Mayor Pete. I mean, okay, so you're going to get elected president of the United States because you know the Midwest. I don't care if you know the Midwest. Kanye's from Chicago. Doesn't mean he should be president.
Why do you hate women, Jason?
Clearly, I hate women. I hate black people. Apparently, I hate myself.
So it seems like you are, mostly supporting Elizabeth Warren at this point.
No, I'm not a super huge supporter of Warren either, because while I don't think she has the problems of Joe Biden, what I do think is this. Warren has not been able to explain where her base is going to come from. Like, good ideas, very passionate, hasn't made a ton of mistakes. And the mistakes she has made, and I give her credit for this, the whole lying about being a Native American thing for the first 40-something years of her life, she is a quintessential example of how you handle it when you get caught lying. She apologized over and over and over again, talked to every single Native American group that she could. Now, there's some people who are never going to forgive her for that, and I think that's fine if you think it's a real character issue. But she handled the issue forthrightly and consistently over and over again, rather than pretending it wasn't a problem or attacking the people who brought it to her attention. I give her credit for that. But I don't know what her base is. I don't know if the people who like Elizabeth Warren are going to be enough for her to win. And some people really do have to make an electability argument. And it's not because she's a woman, although for some people, obviously it is. It's because, she doesn't have massive black support. At her best, she's been at 20%, but usually she hovers somewhere around, 8 to 12. She doesn't lock down all women voters. She doesn't lock down all men voters. You can call her this sort of souffle, this stew of a bunch of different constituents. But is that stew going to be big enough to go head to head with Donald Trump and beat him? I don't really know.
So you're fully in the tank for Bloomberg or Steyer?
Exactly. Because I want a rich guy. Here's the thing. And again, this is something that we're doing in Power Rankings. You know what Michael Bloomberg should do with all that damn money? All that damn money that he seems to want to throw up against the wall for a presidential campaign, he's got no chance of winning, right? No chance of winning. I don't know if you just heard about this, but, Ron DeSantis, terrible, awful, racist governor of Florida.
Terrible.
So you're familiar with Amendment 4, right?
In Florida?
Yeah.
The voting rights?
Yeah. So in case the audience doesn't know, Amendment 4 passed by like 65% in 2018. Like, it passed at a higher margin than anybody who got elected in a statewide office. And Amendment 4 restores voting rights to formerly convicted people. In a lot of states, if you serve your time for a felony, 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, whatever it is, you lose your right to vote forever, which is crazy and ridiculous and anti-constitutional.
Horrible. I mean, and if you really believe that, it's like, come on, you served your time. The punishment ends now. I don't believe in the punishment to begin with, but if you do, okay, the punishment is over. Can you give the person a chance to succeed and not just voting, getting a job? Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. Ban the box, all those kinds of things. Like, these are things that help people reintegrate into society, be able to participate again. So this passes by a massive amount in Florida in 2018, 60-something, 65, 66%. DeSantis gets elected in a questionable way. And he has been packing the courts and fighting to undercut or destroy the result of this bill. And he just managed to get one of the state courts to rule that, well, okay, you can get your right to vote back only after you have paid financial restitution to whoever it is that you harmed that led to you being in jail anyway. Which is insane because it would require everybody. That just happened 2 days ago.
That's impossible. You can never do that.
It's impossible. Yeah, it's impossible to do. And
can you imagine taking a loan out for that reason?
Right. Not to mention the fact that the legal process of finding out what you owe, because again, it was only restored for nonviolent offenders. This isn't murderers we're talking about here. This is a car thief.
I'll let you finish the point, right? But I mean, it was really outrageous when he tweeted something about voting as a privilege. No, it is a right. It's not a privilege. It's a right. That's in the Constitution, like Section 5.349. I don't know about the Constitution, but anyway, that was really. So go ahead about how do we get on him, and I'll let you.
For first class is a privilege. Okay. like a back massage from your wife after work. That's a privilege, right? It's not in the law. So if I'm Mike Bloomberg, if I'm Tom Steyer, I would go down to Florida next week and spend all these millions that they've got, and I would pay off everybody's funds.
That's I like it. Yes.
It would be brilliant. Yes. First off, you would automatically be enfranchising 1 million people. And you would get literally, I think if Tom Steyer or Mike Bloomberg did that, they would jump to probably 2 or 3 in the Democratic rankings. I don't like the idea.
They'd be accused of buying the vote.
Well, you could be accused of buying the vote, but here's the thing.
That's what they're buying. They're buying their way into the campaign to begin with. So, exactly. You can hate the game, not the player. But I think it's no different than you're literally buying off somebody's debt. You're not, these million people. There's no guarantee that they'll vote for you. There's no guarantee that they will all register to vote. But what you will be saying is that I am committed to enfranchising everybody across America. Michael Bloomberg just gave a donation to Fair Fight Action and, some of Stacey Abrams' groups that are fighting for census rights and voting rights and everything else. Take it one step further. Directly enfranchise people. That's what I think both of them should do. That's what I'm going to say every single time I mention their names on the air for the next 6 weeks until we get finally to these primaries. If Tom Steyer can spend $11 million in South Carolina alone, then he can easily take, because paying off all those fines is less than $2 million. It's a great idea.
It's not that much.
I got to let you go, which makes me sad. But let me ask you one final question about theroot.com. I've been a longtime fan and reader of The Root, and it seems like it's really one of the few news websites that's cutting through. Michael Harriot's doing great work. You're obviously doing great work. And yesterday, Ayanna Pressley's hair loss story, that video went it owned the day. And it will continue to, and it's just amazing, and she's amazing. But who is theroot.com for? The Root, Black news, opinions, politics, and culture. Because I feel like it's a lot for me. Because I don't hear that perspective in, quote, mainstream enough. And your perspective and the others that are contributors there. And so obviously it's for Black folks, but I feel like it's very much for me too. Who's it for?
It's for everybody. I mean, first off, the actual numbers, just because of the number of people who go online, is there's a good percentage of the regular readership that's white people and Asian people and Latino people. I think, it's I wouldn't say it's not 50-50, but I know that the readership is it's upwards of 35% non-Black.
All right, that's great.
I know that for a fact. And I think Pete, you really captured this perfectly, because it is for everybody, but we are writing from a particular perspective. And so many news outlets, Newsweek, the Daily Beast, Time Magazine, every, Politico, everything else like that, they write from a particular perspective, but presume that is the norm and the default. Right. I mean, Politico writes news, but Politico most of their writers are white. Most of their writers are straight. Most of their writers come from certain kinds of backgrounds. It's not a criticism, but they sort of operate under the assumption that everybody reads them and everybody gets their worldview. And so what's powerful about The Root is we are a group of Black people, and we write from an African-American perspective on the economy and popular culture and politics and health and science and literature and everything else like that. And we can bring forth stories that, quite frankly, other news outlets wouldn't even be aware of or do not provide the kind of space for people to come forward. I'm like you. I saw that Ayanna Pressley story. First off, it made me tear up. It really did.
It's crazy. I was sitting in my car waiting for a pizza, watching that video, crying.
Yeah, like it makes you tear the hell up. And quite frankly, we were on the office Slack this morning, and it's like that's one of those things where it's like, yo, I'm proud to work here.
Sure.
I'm proud to work because where else was she going to share that story? It was either going to be us or Essence.
Why do you say that? Why couldn't you share that in like a white dominated mainstream? Like, I mean, isn't that who needs to see that? That's the phrase now. I don't know who needs to see this, but here's this. Like, right, exactly. I don't know who needs to. I think because one, it's a matter of I mean, you know this as a host, it's a matter of comfort from the subject. So I'm sure Ayanna Pressley, even in her own space amongst her own counsel and husband and family, is like, okay, who's going to treat this story with care and compassion and empathy? And also, who do I want, if I'm going to give this exclusive, heartfelt video to an outlet, that outlet may or may not. It may be big, it may not. But if it is big, I want that outlet to get the credit. And why wouldn't I go to The Root? Yes. Because she's a champion for Black folks and has been. I mean, I love that. I really want to interview her.
Oh, she's powerful. She's going to be senator of Massachusetts. She will be the senator of Massachusetts.
Not if Joe Kennedy.
One day.
Not if young Joe Kennedy has anything to say about it. Any chance to do a Kennedy impression of whoever first came up with that impression?
I think your Simpsons as Kennedy impression is amazing.
That's all I do is impressions of other people's impressions. And people are like, wow, it's very good. I'm like, I'm a hack. Thank you. I want to talk to you all the time. I want to be with you. So, dude,
let's make this regular.
You're saying it on the record.
Just text me. Yeah, I'm saying
it on the record. It's been so hard to get you. You're so
regularly.
important and busy. And I just have my...
Dude, I got like 12 jobs.
I know. That's why I don't know how you can be regular. Get regular.
Lots of bananas and lots of prunes. That's how I say it. Well,
good for you, man. I'm learning good new health now that I don't have a job, that I did working for myself. I don't have to go to some company. Like it's a lot of silver linings. I'm eating a lot of prunes myself. So
you cook for yourself more. You stay healthy.
It's really interesting with the outcomes. All right. Well, I'll do it as regular as you want to do it. I love talking to you. I think you're one of the most intelligent and. One more question. Do you have time for one more?
Sure.
You come off sometimes as angry, and that's a Black trope. Like the angry, Black people have to be more careful about everything, especially about being angry. But I don't objectively, I don't understand why I expect Black people to be angry. I've said this. I've said, I don't know how Black people don't go around punching white people in the face all day because of the injustice.
You'll get shot.
Well, fine. I mean, I'm not serious. I mean, but like sometimes, I wouldn't blame you. I don't blame any Black people for being angry. Do you think, what about that trope? And why shouldn't you be upset, especially now with Donald Trump? I mean, there's a post at theroot.com by Damon Young. I will never forgive white people for Donald Trump. Sure, I get it. I remember after the election, the day after the election, I was walking in Manhattan. It was the first time, Jason, I ever felt like people were looking at me and discriminating against me because of the vessel I was in, because they probably assumed I voted for Trump because I'm a white guy. And I wanted to be like, it wasn't me. But on that question of anger, why shouldn't you be angry? Why, especially if you're a Black woman, much less a Black man?
Well, one, there's a difference between sort of anger and disgust and how you use it. Famous person, one of these black philosophers, I honestly can't remember the person's name. It's like, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Right.
Not outraged.
There's plenty to be angry about. But how you direct your anger, right? Do you direct your anger towards survival? Do you direct your anger towards justice? Do you direct your anger towards the upliftment of yourself and your people? Or do you direct that anger inward? And that's the challenge, right? The other thing is, Americans as a whole are relatively angry people. We're a very revenge-oriented, Old Testament kind of people culturally.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I'll use this sort of quick example. So about 8 years ago, I was in South Africa, and I'm having dinner with these folks at this place. We're in Johannesburg, right? And so I actually asked this question, ironically, of these black people that I'm sitting with. I was like, why aren't you guys more pissed? Oh my God, like, why aren't you more angry? Like, we're sitting in a restaurant having dinner, and like 15 years ago, you were legally not allowed in this part of town. Like when you were a teenager, you by law were not allowed to eat here, but you guys seem so chill. And I remember saying, I was like, the last whites only sign was probably taken down 12, 13 years before I was even born. And I'm still pissed, but y'all are chilling. And they said, oh, well, the answer is easy, because we got our country back and we're home. You all are in a place that doesn't want you and never did, but it's the only place you know.
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. Oh, what an interesting question and answer.
Yeah.
And
so that's where the anger comes
from. Great place to end it. All right. Well, let me know when we can do it again. Love talking to you, and I've a billion more questions for you. And I'll plug everything on the way out and on the show notes for you. But I guess the best place to find Jason is at The Root, and of course on Twitter, where he is awesome. Love following him on Twitter. At what is your Twitter? I should have it right in front of me.
At Dr. Jason Johnson.
You should never have to say that yourself. I'm sorry. At Dr. Jason Johnson. He's got a PhD, everybody. I'll talk to you soon, and I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man. No problem.
All right, Dr. Jason Johnson. Really smart guy. Look forward to having him on more regularly on the podcast. And now for something very different. Like I said at the top of today's show, my parents came down to celebrate my daughter's 15th birthday, and always great to have them in town. It's been a crazy time for my family because, of course, as you know, probably, or maybe you don't, back in the beginning of October is when I lost my job at SiriusXM, which was, of course, a really difficult time, continues to be a really challenging time as I'm trying to rebuild. But what else happened, which you may or may not know, is my dad had a heart attack. My dad, the man of steel, a guy who's been a competitive cyclist since his early 40s, who before that was a competitive athlete. He taught skiing for 44 years in a row. This past February, he broke his leg skiing. And then at the same time I'm losing my job, in the process of that all going on, my dad had a heart attack. My mom had to call 911. They rushed him to the hospital where he had to be for an entire week. But he got a stent, and he was supposed to be good to go. But they gave him these blood thinners, and that caused him to faint, and he fell and hit his eye on the corner of the counter and damaged his eye severely. Had to have 2 surgeries to regain vision. It was a nightmare, and it didn't work. And my mom had to call 911 the second time, by the way, to get him in the hospital after he fell. And now he's blind out of his right eye. So it has been a really difficult time for my family. But my dad's hanging in there. He obviously still has a sense of humor. I dragged him down into the studio. We had a great conversation about politics and much, much more. And it was a lot of fun. Always great to see my pop. Love him very much, and here he is right at the in the middle of a joke, and then we get into it.
Into a bar, and he said, I bet you anybody in this bar between me and this guy right here, we got 5 balls.
Why did he say that?
Well, the guy looked up in the bar, and he was going to bet on with the guy, and the guy who's going to bet with us this, well, man, if you're going to win that bet, you better have 4 balls.
Ah!
Get it?
That's my dad.
The guy only had 1 ball.
Sitting down right now. A lot of fans. Yeah. Before we get to your political analysis.
Political analysis, me.
Before we get to it.
That's going to be interesting.
A lot of people want to know about your health.
I'm very healthy. I weigh 143 pounds. I am now down to 5'6", up from 5'7.5", and healthy as a horse.
Healthy as a horse?
Yeah, there's got to be a horse out there that had the same health as you.
You anticipate skiing this year still?
I don't anticipate anything.
Okay. Staying in the moment?
I just, no, I'm not in the moment, certainly. No.
Where are you?
Someplace behind the moment, wishing I could get into the moment, but not in the moment.
Sounds like you got it all under control. You sound good.
I have nothing under control.
Okay.
Boy, have you got it wrong.
You positive?
I am very, very negative, but, as upstretched and as, that's not really a word.
I like it, though. It should be.
Yep. I'm, as positive as you could possibly be under the current circumstances.
What do you want to say to everybody out there?
Hi out there.
All right, let's get to your political analysis.
Political analysis.
We just had Dr. Jason Jones, and he's a PhD. He's a political scientist.
Well, then what the hell does he know? Let's get on with this.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, first of all, I think it's interesting that you fall into a demographic, 75-year-old, didn't go to college, white male, Italian, Lebanese,
That's a demographic?
Yeah, people would assume, given just those characteristics, that you would be a big-time Donald Trump supporter, right? Do you think it's fair? Most of the guys your age, your category. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Why not?
I seem to know an obscene amount of Trump supporters that are they're in the 70s and they're Italian and they're
So it would
may or may not be educated and they're. I guess maybe there is a demographic that says,
forget about education.
Like Trump,
Pretty much every white guy your age that you know.
Well, a lot of them, yeah.
And statistically, I think men your age voted for Donald Trump in America.
A lot of them kept their liberal beliefs from when they were hippies.
Oh, you think
there's a whole demographic out there that people forget about, that they were hippies. And
come on, Pop. You say a lot, though.
Well, it seemed like a lot when I was 20 years old.
Yeah, but do you really think that there's a lot of 75-year-old white guys? I mean, I could pull up the stats, but that voted for that did not vote for Trump. That did not. Those whatever hippies you're referring to.
The majority of the people didn't vote for Trump. So, yeah, there's got to be a
majority
lot
of 75 men, white males in their 70s.
I don't know. I never. It's kind of like, I don't really hang around with people who are 75, so I don't really know.
Well, your friends.
That's part of the other thing there. Most of my friends
are a lot of teenage boys.
I've never. Well, I wouldn't say that, but
a handful of them.
I've,
You've got a group. So
there's a group, yeah. Okay. I wouldn't call it a cult. There is a group.
What would you say?
I'm not their leader.
Why don't you like Donald Trump?
How could anybody? Why don't I like Donald Trump? Now, there's a unloaded question. The guy's an asshole. And then it gets worse. I never liked Donald Trump.
Why did you never like him before he got into politics?
He's a pompous shit. I could never stand the guy. I mean, I could go down the list of things that he wanted done for him that were so obscenely ridiculous. And it was like, he wanted to lower the highway along the Hudson River. What's that? The Henry Hudson Parkway.
Yeah.
He wanted to lower it so that his buildings, the lower floors, would have a better view of the river. He wanted the city to spend millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to lower the highway. So
what else? Like, did you ever watch The Apprentice or anything like that?
No, I couldn't stand The Apprentice. I watched a couple of things. I know you were on it. I watched that one. But whenever he said, "You're fired," and he used to point his finger at the guy, he says, "I would love to be that guy so I could point my finger at him and say, 'Fuck you, Donald, I'm out of here.'" I just wanted to turn it around, and that annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And he used to come in there, and all I could think of was his hands have got to be soft and mushy, and he does. I'm sure he doesn't have any ass, and his legs are like milk. The guy is.
He never put in a hard day's work. He never. He's not.
No, not what we would consider work. No.
What else would you say? Like even before he became a political candidate, he just
didn't like him. I mean, before he became a political, and his book, that pamphlet that he put out, that he claims. What was The Art of the Deal? I read that book in about Yeah, I read it in about. Well, I was buying property at the time, and I was just starting buying property, and I said, well, that's something I should read. So I read it, and I said, well, that's a nice pamphlet.
Well, that's a. Well, what do you think of it?
I thought it was a pamphlet.
What do you mean by that? Is it?
I mean, it wasn't. You read the book, and I mean, it was like fourth grade reading. It was just there was no. I remember a couple of things he said in there. I like to talk to this guy on the phone because I call him and we get things done, bing bang, and then the it's over. We don't have a lot of small talk. And then if you ever listen to Donald Trump when he calls like Hannity or whatever he calls it, Fox, they can't get him off the phone.
Right.
The guy just talks so much and they can't get him off the phone. The guy never shuts up.
So it's interesting you bring up that you've owned commercial real estate for years. Few buildings, commercial buildings, strip malls, type
small stuff, little.
So how do you relate to the kind of? I mean, that technically is the same business he's in. He's obviously.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm in the same business.
Well, the difference is that your dad didn't give you your buildings. That's one difference.
My dad didn't have any buildings.
Yeah, he didn't give you any money.
He didn't have any money. So
how do you look at the way that he, if at all, if you paid attention to the way that he ran, real estate? Because the thing with him was like he didn't pay his contractors. Like he didn't pay the people who did the work.
He learned a lot from his dad.
Yeah, who was.
We all learn from our fathers.
Possibly a bigger asshole than he is. I've heard.
We all learn from our fathers, and my father taught me to, he was very moralistic. I never heard him swear or use a bad word. And he told me, he says, no, never.
Really?
I remember the first time I said fuck in front of my father and he looked at me, he was shocked. And under the circumstances, I had just been told that one of my very best friends had been shot and killed by the cops. And I called the cops fucking assholes. And my father was shocked that I would say that and I was like in the army at the time. But anyways, my father used to tell me, people who use those words are ignorant. That's why they use that kind of language. And I never heard him use a bad word.
I remember the first time I swore in front of you. We were fishing.
Yeah.
And I saw that giant muskie lunge in Atisco Lake.
And it got away.
And I said, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that was my swear. Yeah. And then you and I tried to snag it with lures.
We killed it.
And I think we might have killed it. We just threw lures into it.
Well, I snagged him and the fish died.
I remember the lures were
very sad thing
in the side of his fuselage.
The back of the fish was floating sideways.
So in terms of Trump and real estate and the way that he the way that he did business, did you pay attention to that? Know anything about that?
No. Do I pay? Yeah, I paid attention to it. I know. I mean,
his stories about.
Oh, I know all the stories about him. About how he did the ice skating rink and. That was his claim to fame. That what was the name of it?
Woolman Rink.
The Woolman Rink. I mean, that was his claim to fame. The city couldn't get it done, and he did. And the fact of the matter is, he did get it done. But then you have to find out that the fact of the matter is, he hired a general contractor. Says, "I'm not going to pay you anything, but you're going to get full credit for this, and the city is going to love you, and the people are going to love you, and you're going to get a lot of work out of it." And then when it got all done, Donald Trump took complete credit for everything and never mentioned the guy's name. So that's how Donald Trump did things. I mean, he couldn't even mention the guy's name and give him credit, So
when you will argue with your friends, or because you stand up, you have good passionate arguments with a lot of your Trump supporting friends. How does that usually go?
I don't talk to him anymore.
All right.
I did. I mean, it's like one of the things I say, well, do you ever listen to Hannity? No. If they say yes, I go, oh, that's good.
That's it.
That I don't know. Then I go, it's like there's no reason to talk to you because if you'll listen, if you have time in your life to listen to an idiot like that, then it isn't worth talking to you.
It's interesting because do you consider yourself? Would you label yourself with a political ideology, conservative or liberal?
I'm moderate.
You're moderate. You think you fit.
Yeah, I do think.
Although
I do think that Donald Trump, if Donald Trump had played his cards right, he could have been. He had all the makings in a way, not all the makings, but he could have been the best president we've ever had.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What on earth are you doing? Get out! I didn't invite you in here to say that.
Here's why he could have been. He came in at a time when the country was moving in the right direction. Everything was looking up. We're on the verge of having a really good medical care system, but he, because of his major drawbacks, has to put aside and put down anything that Obama or his wife ever did.
Right.
And that's his big deal. Instead of turning it around and saying, look, Obama was weak in this particular area, and there were foreign aid, foreign
policy.
And for some reason, Obama couldn't get both sides together on anything, and he had 8 years to do it. He never did. He could have.
You think that was his fault?
It doesn't matter because Trump.
That was Hannity's fault too?
Trump could have easily done that. It would have been easy for Trump to do that, but he chose not to.
I don't think he could have done that.
Yeah, the Democrats would have gone along with him. If he came up with something that says, look, let's take Obamacare and make it better, and I'm going to listen to both sides, and we're going to make it better, it would have gotten done.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and then he would have said...
Here's what I would change. Any Republican could have done that, but Trump could never have done that. Well, he didn't have the capability. He never had the ability to do that. Because of what you said earlier, he never wanted to do that. He hated Barack Obama.
My point is that with some of the stuff that he's done, you ask me, I'm a moderate, and I look at things from both sides, and I see a situation coming in after Obama that anybody, that's my point. Anybody who came in had the situation where they could have become the best president the country's ever. They could have accomplished more because we were ripe and ready for it. This guy chose to go the total opposite direction.
What did you think of Barack Obama as president for 8 years?
I think that
after Bush's disaster,
in hindsight, he did a lot of good stuff. Okay, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I am a fan of him and his wife and the stuff they did. And his weaknesses were basically that he was such a high intellect that I think that he had a hard time getting people to come basically up to his level or down. He couldn't go down to their level or whatever. And the other thing is, like I was starting to say before, his dealings with foreign countries, he had a lot to learn there. Even after 8 years, he had a lot to learn. And
anything in particular that comes to mind? Are you thinking
Well, look at the deal he did with Iran. Everybody says so bad. Well, the people of Iran are the most westernized country in the Middle East. They want to be westernized.
So you didn't like the Iran deal?
I like the Iran deal.
Oh.
And those people wanted, so I started to say, I like that, what he did there. And he did a lot for that country. I mean, he didn't give the ship away, but he certainly made
he only gave them the...
Yeah, it was a good deal.
I was listening to a conversation with Bob Iger, who runs Disney, and he's a business guy, and he was talking about deals. And you've made more deals than a lot of people I know. And when you make a deal, you don't get everything that you want. That's why it's called a deal, right?
Well, I was once told by a guy, and I totally agree with this, because we were making a deal, and he said, a good deal is when each side thinks they got fucked a little bit.
Yes.
And
I like that.
That's the way I have always looked at it. And,
you like to get fucked a little bit.
And well, you don't want to be, but I've all the deals I've ever made, I never walked away and said, boy, I got the best of that one.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, that guy really nailed me. Look what he did here. I could have gotten more out of him. And, and as I look back, those were all pretty good deals for both of us. So I came out, he came out, or we were all.
You guys both came out?
Well, what are you going to do?
So just one more on Obama. Was there any other foreign thing that you're thinking of? Was there... or anything else about Obama domestically that you thought was good or bad, or?
No, I don't follow that close, but me. It's like there's situations that probably if you understood.
What about the you sold insurance for a living? You had an insurance agency. Yeah. Did you Obamacare more than anything else? What it did is it created a marketplace for people to buy insurance on the individual market. But the other thing that it did, why don't you take your jacket off on, Mike? Let me hear it. Put the zipper up to it's getting hot in here.
So, zipper
there you go. The other thing that it did was it regulated the insurance industry, which was really unregulated, which was fucking people left and right for generations. Like if you had a pre-existing condition or it wouldn't pay out your claim, or you just couldn't get affordable coverage. It basically regulated the industry, and they also regulated the financial industry with Dodd-Frank after that goddamn disaster. But let's just stick to healthcare. Did Do you think that the Obamacare healthcare reforms, the regulation of the healthcare industry, and the creation of that marketplace was well done? Was needed?
Let's put it. I did not sell. Healthcare was not my way of making a living. But because part of it was that, well, first of all, if you're going to sell it, you got to specialize in that area. But people come to me and say, I'm an individual, or I just opened a business, and they say, can you get me, I need some health insurance. I go, there's no market. There was no market, no matter, okay, you got to go to Blue Cross Blue Shield, I guess. I mean,
you did,
it was the only one.
Auto, restaurant.
Yeah, I did everything else. I did commercial stuff and life and all that. But the health market was pretty minimalized. There were not a lot of health
through your employer, or you don't.
Well, that was basically it. Yeah.
Was it really that simple?
In a lot of cases, that was pretty much how it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, let's get to the current candidates. This is really what I wanted to talk to you about.
All right.
Is there anybody that you like that's running for the Democratic nomination?
I'm not. I'm excited. No.
Nobody has you excited.
No. I think I know.
You always liked Joe Biden.
If Joe Biden had run against Trump
instead of Hillary,
he would have beaten Trump. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind at all. But he didn't because he was upset about his son's death, even though his son had said, "Dad, I want you to run for president."
Is that right?
Yes, and which seemed to me to be counterintuitive. Well, your son was dying, and one of the things he said was, "I'd like you to run for president," and you were too upset over your anyways. But Joe Biden's now 4 years older. He's a half step behind, and even though I love his gaffes, some people don't like his gaffes for some reason. I think it's great. The guy speaks what he's thinking, and I don't think anything wrong with that. So, but I'm not a big Joe Biden fan anymore. No.
What changed? Anything?
He's old. He's 4 years older.
Well, so he's a couple years older than you?
Yeah.
And so is Bernie Sanders? If you think about, and Bernie Sanders and you had a similar, he had a more severe heart attack than you did, but when you think about where you're at right now, running for president of the United States.
Yeah.
And you're in, you've taken great care of yourself your whole life, blah, blah, blah. But the idea of being in your 70s and going out for any job sounds crazy, much less that job. The energy, the commitment, the understanding that you need. I mean, think about this one point. How do you relate to a 20-year-old or a 15-year-old right now? How could you?
Well,
and what their interests are.
When I tore my ACL, Jerry Rice, who was the best receiver in all of football history, tore his ACL. In my competition, I told my doctor this: I want to come back faster from this injury than Jerry Rice.
Well, how old were you when?
I was in my early 40s.
Okay.
And
how'd you do it?
I was skiing, but the thing is, I tore my ACL, and I've got the same injury that this professional football player has. And my competition was, I want to come back from the surgery. We had our surgery a week apart. Okay, he and I.
You and
Jerry Rice. Yeah,
you call him Jerry.
I used to call him the Rice Man. And so, anyways, and now I have a heart attack.
Did you not used to call our Asian neighbor that as well, Dad?
The Rice Man? Well, yeah.
We didn't have that was me being racist. I set my dad up. We didn't have an Asian neighbor.
He had a motorcycle, and I call him a rice jockey.
Okay.
So strike that. That was stupid.
Okay, it's fine. What are they going to do? Cancel you?
We had an Indian neighbor.
What are they going to do?
We had Indians next door.
Yeah, well, for about a month.
Yeah, I used to mow their lawn for them because they wouldn't.
Strike that.
So it will strike that one too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else you want to say, though? While we're at it?
I could talk about Jews, anything?
No, we should just keep this whole segment right now so I don't have to edit the hell out of it.
Okay. Well, that all got together, so it'll be easy to edit. Yeah.
No, so you and Jerry Rice.
Well, that's the thing, Jerry Rice. And I came back as fast from my injury as Jerry Rice came back from his. And I was at full strength as fast as a professional football player. So fast forward at 30 years. I have a heart attack the same time as
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, he came back faster than I did. And so that's what time marches on. I guess part of my point is that I can't believe this guy. This guy's out there campaigning like crazy. I mean, he must be exhausted. I mean, when he puts his head on the pillow, that guy's got to be out cold. And then he gets
Bernie
up.
Sanders is campaigning for president, and you're watching season 3 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Well, it was interesting for a while. But the guy is, I got to give him credit. He's an old man. I mean, he'll be like 100 years old if he serves a term. I mean, Jesus, the guy is old.
So what about...
I don't like his ideas either. I think he's over the top.
He's over the top with
him and Warren, or their ideas are a little bit too radical.
How so?
For me, the whole free. When people mention when you're running for president and you start talking about free, that's where I got to draw the line.
Why?
I don't believe in free. Nothing's free. Nothing is good as free.
Okay, well, when you were 20, college was practically free. Why can't it be now? Why does it have to be so much more expensive for my daughters than it was for you? 80 times more expensive.
Why did you get a lot of my friends, a lot of the guys that I grew up with went to Onondaga Community College. And
but forget that. A lot of
people today go to community college.
Yeah, but private school then was cheap.
And it's affordable. No, private school was never cheap. It was never cheap.
It was not like it is now. And state school
nothing's
is not like it is now.
But you could still afford to go to a state school. That's my argument. That's it. If you want to pay $70,000 and you want to borrow money to go to school for $70,000 a year, and that's what it costs. Syracuse University costs $70,000 a year. Now, if you're going to borrow money when you could go to right up the street to a state school. Or if you're smart enough, you can get into the University of the Forestry University at
ESF, Environmental Science Forestry.
At SU, and pay 10% of what it costs to go to SU if you're smart enough. So if you're not that smart, maybe you shouldn't be spending $70,000 a year to go to college.
All right, so Kyle, you don't like the college affordability plans. Let's not argue about that anymore. Anything else that's like radical that you can cite?
I think they
with the progressives
they talk about getting over the top a little bit. They want to give stuff away when they're talking about all these programs, and basically what they should be talking about is Trump. All you got to do is talk about Trump.
What about taxing the rich?
I think it's a great idea.
They should be paying way higher taxes.
Oh, that's stupid. It's stupid. If you're making $1 million a year, you're probably not going to spend it. You're probably going to spend a few $100,000 a year because you're going to take a lot of that money because you are making a lot. People who make a lot of money like to make more money. And the only way to do it is to invest it. In other words, you invest it in stocks. You're not building anything. You're not creating jobs. I don't care what anybody says. I buy stocks. I make money on my stocks. Then I pay the lowest rate of tax on the money I didn't work for.
So that's what.
And I've talked to, I go to lunch with a bunch of accountants. They work in this accounting firm. They're friends of mine. I says, guys, explain this to me. Why is it that the lowest tax rate is on the money that we don't work for? Why shouldn't that be just the exact opposite? And, nobody wants to answer it.
How much do you think about climate change?
I think that's it's funny because John Katko.
He's your congressman.
Yeah, he's my congressman. He just sent us a questionnaire, and that wasn't even on the there were like a list of 15 things, list in order the importance of these items. That wasn't one of them. It wasn't even listed. I had to write it in. That's my biggest concern is climate change. And,
challenge him to a duel.
Yeah, and now the Republicans.
That's your biggest concern?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, because I have grandchildren. Everything else is, number one with me is climate change, and number two is let's not go to war. If we address climate change and don't go to war, we're all going to be okay.
Did you think after 9/11 we should go to war in Iraq?
No.
Why not?
Iraq had nothing to do with it. It had nothing to do with it. I mean,
you've always been anti-war.
Well, yeah.
During the Vietnam War, you joined the reserves.
Yeah,
you were in the Army Reserve, so you didn't go to Vietnam because I
didn't really want to go and get shot at and stuff.
Your cousin died in Vietnam.
Yeah, I had enlisted first, but I didn't want to. the idea of getting shot at was not something that I thought was a really good idea.
Why? Why didn't you want it? Why didn't you think you weren't a hippie?
I had no, I had no beef with those people. I don't even know why we were there. Yeah. First of all, the first time I ever heard about Vietnam, I was in high school, and it had to be around 1960. And one of the teachers said, you know, guys, they talk about this Cold War and Russia and the atom bomb and all that. He says, there's a country called Vietnam, and that's where you should be concerned. And that was the end of the conversation. Never heard it again for about 4 more years. But he knew about it, so it was bubbling up. And then when the Vietnam War started around 65, I just went in the reserves, and I
because
figured,
that was a way to not hopefully.
Hopefully we weren't going to go to. I thought we were going to go in 68. We all did. We just assumed they were going to call us up, but they didn't, because reserves were filled with white guys, young white guys, and we didn't get called up.
And
they were drafting black guys, and they didn't put white guys who were in reserves in harm's way.
So then, fast forwarding all the way, going back to Iraq, you just thought that was
well, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, so I don't know why
there's no part of you that ever thought we needed to.
No.
What about Afghanistan?
No, I didn't think we should go. I thought we should do was send our elite troops. I always thought we should send if we're going to go someplace, just send our elite troops in and kill people, kill a few guys, and but not an all-out war. No.
Have you paid any attention to this guy Andrew Yang?
Oh, the guy who's running for president?
Yeah.
I saw his wife.
You heard about his wife?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
It was weird.
Horrible.
That's kind of weird. It was really weird.
I didn't even know what happened. She was her OBGYN. Let's not even talk about it,
she was molested by her OBGYN, and she didn't tell anybody. And she went home and said to her husband, why do they have male OBGYNs? And he just kind of looked past it. He didn't think anything of it. And he said he feels guilty about that.
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, but she should have said something. I don't know why. I would like to think that if something happened, that somebody would speak up. But they're speaking up more now, which I think is a good thing. Put it all on a level playing field.
Speaking of the Catholic Church, you've completely abandoned them because of the whole pedophile scandal. Not that you ever really were too into it.
It's like, I know 3 priests personally, privately. I don't know them through church, and I find out that 2 of them are
dirtbags.
Well, I don't know. I guess what they did was, I think what they're guilty of is knowing directly what was going on and not doing anything about it.
Bad.
I think they were directly implicated in that way, which is they should have implicated all the bishops and the cardinals and the popes for that. They all knew.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, this is fun.
Get past that, yeah.
We'll do it again.
What about...
what else?
What about a Republican running for president?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. What's her name? Haley... what's her name?
Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley.
She's not running for president.
Oh, yeah.
She's not running for president.
If she does, she's going to win.
You think that if Nikki Haley runs for president...
If Nikki Haley runs, she's going to win.
Why
she's a woman.
She'd have to beat Trump.
Let's say he's not running.
Oh, okay. Well,
she's not going to run against him, but...
You said a lot of really thoughtful, intelligent things up until that one, I think, right there. You lost me on that.
No.
You think in the future, if she runs, she'll win?
Not in the future. I'm saying if she ran the next election, if let's say they throw Trump out.
Who? How? That's not happening.
Well, he's being impeached,
Do you think he's going to get thrown out by the
let's say they say you're guilty, and Nikki Haley runs. I think that she would be a very
formidable candidate.
Very, very formidable candidate. Yeah. She's got a lot going for her.
Yeah, okay, fine, but that's not going to happen.
Well, I wanted to talk about candidates, and I think she
All right. Well,
if she was one,
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, you brought it up. I didn't.
I didn't. I said I was trying to wrap up, and then you said, "What about all the Republicans?" And you had this harebrained theory about Nikki Haley.
Yeah, that's because I've listened to Howard Stern's interviews, and when he says, "Let's wrap it up," and then he always keeps it going.
Oh,
and you actually were going to wrap it up and end it, and I just kept it going. I learned that from being interviews. Howard Stern.
Yeah, I'm not him.
Throw that out there and see.
Tired. Want to go to bed?
Oh, you're done? Well, if you want to leave, I could just keep talking here for a while about different things that have been happening in my life.
Is there anything particular you want to mention? Here at the end, anything personal? This
isn't the end, is it?
Yes.
Well, I've been spending a couple of days with my granddaughters. I could, I could talk forever about them, but
which one do you like more?
Which one do I like more? I tell each of them that they are my favorite granddaughter.
Yeah. And I did that with Brian and I.
Yeah, I know. You're still confused, but
I'm not.
It's like the Holy Trinity.
Much easier.
Yeah. But it's been.
They're 15 and 12-year-old
12, yeah. Girls, both of them are.
Yeah. You just got Ava contacts. That was very nice of you.
Well, she needs to see.
Thank you for that.
Her parents didn't seem to care.
I think they look terrible.
They look terrible? You can't see them.
Yeah, that's the joke.
She's got beautiful brown eyes.
Yep.
Then, what else has been going on in my life? I sold a set of wheels that I had in the garage.
Yeah, we got to go then. All right. Well, Dad, thank you.
Corvette wheels. I got a pretty good deal.
Do you want me to plug your social media?
Yeah. Why don't you? It's
which one?
I have a YouTube
you do?
channel that I do different things.
What do you do?
Well, like I'll walk out to the mailbox and show people how to open the mailbox and get their mail out.
Sadly, it's got more views than mine.
Yep, and then that's that's my last YouTube video.
Is there any other social media that you have?
It was the
YouTube?
One where I showed people how to open a door when the latch goes up instead of down, because that can be very confusing. You try to open a door and you can't open it.
Yeah.
Did you ever try this?
Yeah.
And then come to find out the latch goes up, it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
Well, I got a YouTube video on that. It's just kind of like Chuck walking around the house and doing stuff and showing people
just doing normal stuff.
How to open a window when it's not locked. Because did you ever see anybody try to open a window and it's locked and they can't get it to open?
That was me the other day. We got locked out here.
Well, what I do is I show them unlock the window, slide it up.
Could have used that video. Any other social media besides YouTube that you want to plug?
Yeah, I have a Twitter account.
Okay.
I twit frequently. I try to do 20 twits a day.
You do?
Yep.
That's your goal.
What
do you usually twit about?
Sometimes it's about going to get the mail, or it could be, a lot of it is like stuff that I do.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I'm going to go and ride my bike indoors on a roller. I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, because I've only got 140 characters to do it in. So I don't, they're short twits.
Yeah.
And I think if you
do 280 now,
if you do,
they doubled it about 3 years ago.
That's, you know what? I'll tell you, if you twit, you are a twit.
Right.
Twit's twit.
Anything else? Any other social media? Can you even name another?
I'm trying to think of Faceplant. I'm on Faceplant every day.
All right.
Reading the political stuff mostly.
My dad, he will be back on the show as soon as humanly possible. I think we have to give you a microphone up in Syracuse to do this.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Love you, Pop. Thanks.
Yeah, love you, son.
All right, folks, that's all I got for you today. Thank you, Dr. Jason Johnson. Thank you to my dad. Thank you very much to all of those of you who came out to my show in Charleston, and everybody subscribing on Patreon, patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Of course, give us a 5-star rating and write a review, and we will talk to you on Wednesday right here on Stand Up.